A much talked about documentary out today about the 2008 election. It's called Media Malpractice: How Obama Got Elected and Palin Was Targeted. We're going to have an exclusive interview with filmmaker John Ziegler in a moment, but first, here's NBC's Nora O'Donnell.
Sarah Palin's arrival on the national stage drew a flurry of critical reports about the relatively unknown governor from Alaska.
Little did I know that that was just the beginning.
Free of the constraints of a national political campaign, Palin sounds off to conservative commentator John Ziegler in the documentary Media Malpractice, aptly named because that's the accusation Palin makes about how she was covered. Case in point, the interview with Katie Couric.
What newspapers and magazines did you regularly read before you were tapped for this?
Palin stumbled on the answer and says the media twisted that moment into the suggestion that she didn't read at all.
Nobody's really asked her, why didn't you answer that question?
Because, Katie, you're not the center of everybody's universe.
In Ziegler's interview in early January, Palin expands on her answer, explaining that her reading habits do differ from some in the lower 48.
We read online, especially up here, because sometimes some newspapers don't reach us for a couple of days.
She acknowledges that she fumbled the Couric interview, but she also accuses the campaign staff of muzzling her.
I'd like to be able to express, I think, more of who I am and who my family is and what our state represents.
Some initial media reports about Palin were later proven false, like whether she banned books from the local library in Wasilla. She did not. She disputes other reports as distorted, including ones that said she once likened America's invasion of Iraq to a holy war.
Our leaders, our national leaders, are sending them out on a task that is from God.
Obviously, it was taken out of context.
What Sarah Palin does is she takes a few outrageous incidents, like those who question whether Trig was really her baby, and she uses that to paint with a broad brush the entire media establishment.
Palin says she's not whining about coverage of herself, but gets defensive about negative attention focused on her children, particularly the pregnancy of teenage daughter Bristol.
That's a hurtful one because Bristol and Levi are trying to do the right thing.
Still, just last week, Bristol sat down with Fox's Greta Van Susteren to discuss her son, Trip.
He brings so much joy. I don't regret it at all. I just wish it would have happened in 10 years rather than right now.
For today, Nora O'Donnell, NBC News, Washington.